We're going to talk to Ruth, who wants to talk about the claim that religious people heal quicker because they have God and faith. Ruth, what's going on?
Yeah, what's up, Ruth?
Oh, hi. It's just me.
Hey.
I also have a funny story at the end. Oh, and hi to your partner there. I was playing Candy Crush because I'm in a cast. And that's why the first caller. The first caller made me so mad.
It was insane.
Healing stuff.
I had a hard time keeping a smile on my face for that one.
He put me through so many emotions. He put me through anger at first, and then I started laughing. And I don't know if it's the Percocet or what, but yeah.
Hey, we're glad you enjoyed the call. But so this claim, this idea that religious people heal, and for those in the audience who aren't familiar, Ruth is a repeat caller who is not a religious person. So I've got religious people heal quicker because they have God and faith is in quotes. So did someone suggest this to you recently, Ruth?
Well, your first caller was saying that his faith heals him quicker, and I think my atheist body heals just as fast as whatever he believes in, and I'll attest to that. So another is they always go off on science. It just cracks me up.
Well, and today I've been hoping that we would get some people wanting to call and really dig in and talk about science because Forrest is here. I was hoping, maybe a creationist or somebody would call in.
It'd be fun.
But maybe I don't know. I don't know where
yeah. Oh yeah, where's that debate? Because I know people like Brian Greene and some of the other scientists. They won't even, debate the subject with a Christian because it's like debating a flat Earth person.
It gets so dishonest so fast.
J Mike's been debating flat Earth people quite a bit lately, from what I understand. I got to find those videos. Forrest, what's your take on the guys and gals out there in the world of science who will say we don't even want to talk to the flat Earth people?
It's hard because
the creationist people. Like I remember Richard Dawkins years ago was saying that he wouldn't even talk to dignify them with a debate.
Yeah, it's really tough because I'm an educator first. That's my whole life is I want so badly to share what I know, because the only thing better than learning science is teaching it. And so whenever you're thinking about education, whenever you're talking about doing a debate, a lecture, a class, talking online, you always need to ask, number one, who am I really talking to? And, what is the actual intended outcome of this conversation? With somebody who's calling in, like the first caller there, the second he said evidence is not necessary and it's cowardice to only want evidence, things like that, the conversation is over for me. I know that there's nothing that I can say is going to change this person's mind. It's like I always, if someone tells you can't change my mind, you need to believe them and not try. But there's a bunch of other people who are listening. That's who I am now talking to. I'm not going to bring this person in, but I'm not going to be able to push them any further away. So if I, chastise them and call them out for what they're doing, rather than trying to have a polite conversation, they're not going to like me any more than they already did. But the other people listening might see how ridiculous this person is. And so that is usually my take on that kind of thing. That's why I do on my YouTube channel, I have a series called Reacteria, where I watch mainly creationist videos. And I'm like, okay, here's why what they're saying makes no sense. Here's why their argument is ridiculous. Here's what biology actually is. And I try to make it educational. I know those people aren't going to change their minds, but the people watching might. And I've had a million comments that say hey, I've never heard it described this way. I think I actually understand it now. And so when someone says, I'm not going to debate anybody, I'm not going to validate what they're saying, I'm not going to give credence to their ideas, I get that to a certain point, because there are people that are so dishonest, they're going to misinterpret what you said. They're going to use you as a tool to try to bring their flock closer. But if you can at least guarantee that the whole conversation will be published, I think there's always value in at least having the conversation for somebody else to benefit from, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
I was in that position. Yeah, because I mean I was raised as to be a young Earth creationist, and was, you know, I've talked about this at length before, an evangelical, you know, believed all that stuff, and listening to debates was huge, because I came out of an atmosphere where, I mean, this is something that I think atheists and skeptics should pay attention to. If you're in the position that I was in, of spending like 25 years just getting hammered with just young Earth creationist stuff, this is it. This is what's true over and over and over and over again. And there is no pushback from within. Seeing people just openly be like, no, that's wrong, and here's why, can be a very powerful thing, because you don't see that from the inside. Things are just accepted as true. So yeah, I think that it's extremely valuable to push back.
Well, that I pushed back. I think I told you, Kenneth, when I was a child about, what was it? Incest in the ark.
Mm-hmm.
Because Noah had those, I mean, it's just ludicrous. So and that's when they kicked me out of church. So they don't like it when you push back or challenge facts. Now, the first caller, I think you lost him when he said facts are subjective.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
They're not subjective. As a scientist, you would know. I mean, it sounded like a Republican.
Well, who knows? But I mean, the underlying issue is one of Well, and that points to the larger issue of failures of critical thinking, it's a fascinating thing when you start to really dig into all the ways that we can be wrong. And I mean, as a scientist, Forrest, I mean, everything is about correcting for all the ways that we can be wrong, right?
Yeah. I'm stoked to death when I find out I'm wrong, because that means that I'm a better scientist and a better educator now than I was a minute ago. And that is the point of science as well, is that you are trying to prove yourself wrong. There's that's something that you always want to teach at an early level, is that we don't prove a hypothesis. We fail to reject it. We are constantly trying to prove ourselves wrong. My research right now is just seeing if something is possible that might tell us something about something else, that might tell us something about human evolution. Like it's not just I did this and I learned a thing. It's this, I am trying like hell to show that this doesn't work. And when I can no longer do that, we're going to use it.
Yeah.
Right. And I also believe that they fear death. I have to say, they're so afraid they're going to hell. They don't do anything for everything.
That was something he brought up right at the beginning, was that he's not afraid of death anymore because of this idea. And it's like, okay, so the way you stop fearing death was by thinking that it doesn't happen. I don't believe it's real anymore. My mind will go somewhere else and my body doesn't matter. And by just rejecting that something exists, that's not a way to get rid of the fear of it in this way. And it is in certain things, but not with a physical reality like that. You're treating death like this boogeyman, some monster under the bed. It's very strange.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine living in fear. And that's kind of what it is deep down in their little psyche, because I was never brought up in the church, but I can imagine as a child learning something, even in school, and and they're telling you it's right. 1 + 1 is 2. But it's a fact, not a subjective fact.
Yeah. Well, it's not true because a book says so. It's
Right.
There was a meme that was going around I saw this week. I think Seth Andrews had shared it, and I think you might have shared it for us, where there was this idea of like what people think the creation versus evolution debate is. And it's like, it's like the Christian holding up a Bible, like I've got a book, and a scientist holding up like a science textbook. It's like, I've got a book. That's not how it works. And the thing is, for people who are on the I have a book side of things, they're operating from within the world of where it's normal to just believe bullshit because a book says so. And And to do that thing, Forrest drew attention to this, of starting from your conclusion and then trying to work your way backwards and justify that conclusion, which is a good way to be wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we have names for this, of, confirmation bias, motivated reasoning. I mean, this is a problem when you do that. So it's one of the reasons
he didn't
why.
like your Sherlock Holmes.
No, because I bet he still thinks of Sherlock as a hero, not a coke addicted deductive bitch. But like the whole the whole thing about like when you thinking this way, when you come up from this dogmatic perspective, that's why we have such a problem whenever I'm talking about with creationists about they say, well, Darwin didn't believe, and Darwin said this, and Darwin changed his mind at the end, and Darwin actually got this wrong. It's like, okay, cool. Even if I grant you everything, none of that matters because I don't worship Darwin. Like that's we don't come from that argument of authority. There's a lot of shit On the Origin of Species that isn't quite right. Darwin got some stuff wrong. He did. And there are also all sorts of other scientists for the past 200 years since Darwin that have gotten some things right and gotten some things wrong. The point is that we're on a trend of getting more and more and more right as we go along. And like that's how it gets better. If we just say, well, Darwin said it, and therefore we're never going to get anywhere past Darwin. And that's the problem, is you're reading this Bronze Age diet manual and you're never going to get past that because it says it here and that's all it'll ever say, rather than where else can we go from there,
Well, their big comeback, which is laughable, and I would never just put down a Christian to their faith. I want to hear them out, and I do. My problem is I like to debate them a lot. Is that why are there still monkeys? And
why are there monkeys is still good. Forrest, what's the short answer for why are there still monkeys?
Because we didn't evolve from those monkeys.
Those particular monkeys.
Yeah.
Right.
People tend to see, like, there is this, that's one of the coolest things, is that when we first discovered fossils and really understood what fossils were, back in like the 1700s, there were these things called tongue stones. They were actually fossilized shark teeth. And they would find, these bones of these extinct animals. And when they finally started realizing, holy fuck, these are actually animal bones, and I can't find these animals anywhere. The idea of extinction was first introduced around this time, around this early 1700s, if I remember correctly. And it was a very, very controversial idea that things go extinct. Like, that was mind-boggling, because we still had this concept that everything was created exactly as it is just a few thousand years ago and hasn't changed since. And we still were operating on this concept, this model called the Great Chain of Being, where all matter and all life were arranged in this hierarchy with God at the top and humans right underneath, and then everything else going down. And so when we came up with the idea that extinction was a possibility, it completely shook our concept of biology and physics to its core. And when you have people who talk about why are there still monkeys, they're operating from that same chain of being, that monkeys are less evolved than humans, that every monkey is just waiting for the chance to be a human. Fish haven't become humans yet. And humans are the peak, the pinnacle. It's this very teleological, or what we would call orthogenetic in biology way of thinking, where there's this hierarchy of existence. And it just doesn't work that way. Real biology doesn't work that way. Nothing is more evolved than anything else that's currently alive. Everything that's currently living is the peak of evolution. Humans evolve for our niche the same way that chimpanzees evolve for their niche. And if we were switched, our niches would be switched, and our appearance and blah, blah, blah. And if the conditions were different, we would have evolved differently, or we wouldn't have evolved at all. So you'll see that a lot, when people say the super evolved cat, and it's a cat walking on two legs with human characteristics. No, it doesn't get more human as it gets more evolved. That isn't how anything works.
What about our eyes, though, bro? What about eyes?
Yeah, our eyes aren't that special. They're not the best eyes in the animal kingdom. Go check out a cephalopod's eyes, and right back, go look up a fucking mantis shrimp, yo. We have 3 cone cells, so we can perceive the whole rainbow. Mantis shrimp have 16 cone cells. Imagine a color you can't even imagine. Then do that 50 more times, and that's what a mantis shrimp can fucking see. It's amazing. And so we don't have the most complex eyes. And what's really cool is that we can actually, not only can we track how eyes evolve just by simple gradation, each one being useful to its possessor, each one being a little being functional, but you can also see all these different kinds of eyes that we predict out in the animal kingdom today. We see the little patch of photosensitive cells. We see cup eyes. We see pinhole camera eyes. We see simple lenses. We see complex lenses. We see every kind of eye under the sun, including eyes, again, that are better than ours. So like these ideas, it's just as dishonest as like when people say, going back to the thing that Darwin said, that I freely admit that, to say that eyes evolved is absurd. Yeah, he did. And if you read the next sentence, he then explains how it happened.
Next part.
So, it's
and you know what's funny?
I wear eyeglasses, so my eyes are shit.
How fucking perfect. Yes.
Well,
how perfect and beautifully designed are your eyes that you need glasses.
Nobody
I know.
would be more psyched to see how wrong Darwin was than Darwin if Darwin had the chance. As a serious scientist, as a person who wanted to understand the world, and the key thing underneath all this is it is about methodology. It's about how we arrive at conclusions. Darwin would be stoked to see the progress that's been made, because that's what science is, and that's kind of the difference between the scientific and the religious.
Yeah, being wrong is a wonderful thing because you learn more stuff.
Question. The scientists question. Religious don't.
Ruth, speaking of the religious, I'm going to issue right now, last call for the theists. We've had several popping in and out of the live chat today.
I was looking over here, seeing it. Yeah.
So listen, if you believe that God loves us, call and tell us why. We'll have questions, but we can talk about it. That's what we do here. I personally think that saying God loves you or Jesus loves you is a really cruel and horrible thing to say to somebody. Come argue with me about it. I think it's an awful thing to say. And plus, all the people in the chat talking about biology, I've seen several people. I study biology and I teach it for a living. Please, let's go, man. Yeah,
I promise I'll be nice.
We'll give it a couple minutes here, because apparently the theists are, there's this sort of shrinkage that has happened with the confidence of the theists.
That happens in nature. So it's cold outside.
Yeah. So Ruth, what is your final parting thought for us this week?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, you're here.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
I heard a beat. My final thought is.
Oh, sorry.
Is that we as an atheist group, a unity, part of the population, are as generous and as kind and thoughtful and loving and probably more. We're not as judgmental. At least I don't think. I don't judge people unless they've done a crime, and I'd have to see it. That's evidence. So I just want people to know that we're as loving as any Christian. And by the way, Buddha has been around longer than Christianity.
Yeah, that was that guy was talking about how, this is such an old book. That means, flip, dude. Like, come on. It takes 1 second to think about why that's not reasonable.
Yeah,
I know he made me laugh. He made me laugh when he said that. He also said that they're not believers. And I guess they're all going to hell. That means about 80% of this world's going to hell.
Yep.
Well,
I don't. My husband said before he died, he said he'll be waiting for me in hell with a 6-pack of beer.
That sounds like a date.
There you go. All right, Ruth.
I can't wait.
Ruth, have a great rest of your day.
I was so excited to talk to someone in science.
Oh,
yeah. Study science.
This is a great opportunity. You do excellent. Then, Forrest, where can people find you? Let's talk about that. Ruth, I'm gonna cut you loose. Have a great rest of your day. Take it easy with being in a cast and all that stuff.
Ruth, you've been charming. Thank you so much.
With the Candy Crush.